So, computer's mic isn't, or speakers aren't working, maybe?
Well, I hear you.
Let's try that again.
Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for like an hour or more, or less, mostly more. So tonight we're hosting on El Pato, but I normally would host it on the guntube.org. And we got Mike in here who built the guntube.org and runs it. And then when it's all over, it'll go over to gunstreamer.com. So this is the Daily Gun Show. We do go live every weeknight at midnight, and we talk about guns. And today's Friday, so that means it's Free Patch Friday over at our Gear website store, and that's how we stay in business. So we have a Patreon, and we link all of our projects and things up to that, and then of course we have our store, and that facilitates getting some things out there once in a while, but it also brings in income when people buy things from it, and we do appreciate that. So today we had an incentive going with sort of what you're seeing on my screen is a icon or whatever is actually one of the prototype runs of a patch I came up with, and that patch software expired yesterday, so it would maybe be the last patch I designed here in Tucson, depending on how things go. But what you're looking at there is one of the preliminary ones where I played with their logo a little bit and then tried to emulate the logo more exactly, let's say. So it has the little griffins and the little crown and stuff. But what I came up with eventually at the end of that project was to change the globe into the little virus little model or whatever. I guess I could go find a picture of it somewhere and then show it to you. But basically, I created a little Corona bottle label that says coronavirus instead of Corona beer, and instead of saying imported from Mexico, it says imported from China. It's not something I can sell. It's copyright infringement and it's messing around. It's not appropriate or anything, but I can make it and I can create it, and I can say thanks to some people by sending them out. So today I offered an incentive for people that purchase stuff at the store. I was going to send out 2 of those, and we only got 6 orders from the store, I think. So I'm going to just send them to all 6 people. So I appreciate everybody who purchased from the store today, especially in a time of crisis like this. You'll all get one of those coronavirus patches, and those might be the only ones because see how things go. So the machine is dying, and I lost I had the software that I make the patches with, the embroidery files. That's a subscription and it costs too much. I'm not going to renew the subscription right now. So it might be the last one I made. I could still get things made. I can use like Fiverr or some word like what's the word to hire a temporary what do you call it when you hire a temporary expert like Fiverr? What's the name of that?
Contractor?
Contracting, thank you. I could contract, somebody who knows what they're doing, and it doesn't cost that much. It just costs a lot in bulk, so that's probably what I'll end up doing. I just don't like it because I'd rather learn the skill, but my machine is dying, so it's possible I'll just leave that skill go. Anyway, I want to say thanks again to the people that purchased stuff. There wasn't a lot of big orders. I was originally going to say something like $25 order or something like that. I decided to just say it's going to go out randomly to any order, and quite a few of the orders were like $12. With $7, well, not 7, with $3 shipping, that'll leave me $7-10 depending on what it was. And I still appreciate that. That's a lot of money, depending, knowing that we have uncertain times coming. So again, I really appreciate that. And I had 6 of them made, and that's enough to send everyone one. So everyone's free patch today will be that Corona patch. Hopefully not the last, hopefully just the first of that run. And with that, I'll quit plugging all of our stuff, and let's start talking about the future. I send links out to this show every night to a couple of people, and then never show up, and then a couple of different people each night, depending on if I see them around online or if I remember. I should probably put some sort of a, what I call it, like a group together in my contacts on my email client, and then just attach the group to the blind copy that I send out each night, the links that I send out. But I don't do that. I just sort of I create the email each night. So, some nights I send it out to a lot more people than others, just depending on who I remember that night, really, and how busy I am as I'm setting up the show. So I'm not saying it's the most well-produced show, giving you a little bit of behind the scenes to let you know that other people might show up tonight. However, Night Strike is in here now. And I just noticed another email I got tonight. I meet a lot of people, and most of the people I care about meeting are 2A people. So when I go out and get business cards and links and stuff, I'll say hello to somebody who runs an or a club or a manufacturer or something like that. I don't even keep contacts to other content creators usually, but something like a founder of an organization, those I cherish, those I find useful, and I hope to have them on as guests to interview in the future. So I keep those contacts and I keep in touch with those people as much as possible. I want to be of use to to projects that are useful. So in that light, I got a email today, and I'm not going to name it. I can say a national female organization, and I can say that because there's at least a dozen of them, so you don't know which one I'm talking about. But I suspect all of them are going to be susceptible to this and more, not just female organizations, but all 2A organizations. All organizations are about to be susceptible to something that I have particular expertise in, and Night Strike has some. So I figured we'd nerd out on that a little bit, and that is the concept of online training and online community building. I noticed this organization sent out an email announcing or inviting people into this new online training that they came up with. And I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, it's a great opportunity, right? They're doing something constructive with the time, and they're no, not at all. It's just that my thing is, we both know the swamp, the sticky mess that software can be, or is, I should just say is, and then particularly the community software, some of the hazards there. And that's what I wanted to chat about nerd-wise. So I suspect that organizations are going to be approached by web people like I used to be. Like I went around acting like I'm a web guy doing 2A right now, right? But I'm not your normal web 2A guy. I don't give a shit if you buy a new gun, and I don't care what kind of grips you got. I have preferences. My preferences come from Army surplus, right? We developed training in the military for the most part. It comes out when people retire or they cross-train, or information is made public. And then the public adapts military training to civilian situations, the laws and the social situations that we have in the United States today. So all that stuff is literally a military surplus that's then adapted or changed a bit to work in regular culture. But so I have preferences, and I know what works, and I carry what works. And I used to try to offer my opinion, but I quit. I don't care anymore. So what are we talking about? We're talking about
community building.
Yeah, these online communities. So people are getting. Back when I was saying I used to be a web guy, and I quit being a web guy for the same reasons I quit being a 2A content creator, or a gun content creator. I shouldn't say that. I'm hopefully still a 2A content creator. I don't consider myself a YouTube gun guy anymore, because I haven't done a gun review, and I refuse to do them because I want to distance myself as much as possible from that concept that online gun content is sales, or is commercials, or is some sort of half an hour sales pitch, or just any version of that. So anyway, I haven't really considered myself a YouTube thing or whatever, but when I quit doing web stuff, one of the reasons I liked going to YouTube and doing online content creation so much is because I loathed being a internet guy. The stuff you have to lower yourself to, the things you have to do to fight with other web people can be tough. And it basically, when you're going to fight with others, you got to be willing to fight in their whatever arena. You don't get to fight in your arena. That would be awesome if you got to pick the rules and you could set them up so that you're going to win and you're willing to work within some parameters. But in real life, working with other web people, they're going to do whatever to get a client, and they're going to say whatever, and they're going to do whatever needs to be done to make your performance. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on with any profession, I'm sure, plumbers and teachers and everybody else has the same thing, but we have some unique perspective on web creation and stuff. So I looked forward to being able to leave that profession. I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed what we created. I seriously enjoyed having somebody else pay me to use really expensive stuff to build neat stuff online. I didn't mind being a part of that, but I certainly liked knowing what the internet could do and having the skill set to do it. And we applied things like that, those skill sets that we learned, to things like gun channels and Every Second Matters. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it, but say I learned stuff that I would have never been able to tinker with on my own working for clients. But aside from that, I didn't really enjoy the environment of being a web guy, but I have some experience with it, at least back in the day. So what I assume is going to start happening here is that they're going to get a sales pitch. The organizations out there, and every organization is going to get this sales pitch at some point. The ones I care about, the Second Amendment organizations, are going to get this sales pitch. And if they're listening, or someone out here has the ear of someone who's listening to those sales pitches, I'm just going to put this out here publicly with Night Strike, who has, again, some experience with this. Now, I send links out to Austin every night. Every single night, I think I send a link to Austin on Gunstreamer. And if I don't, he's welcome. He knows that. So he's just not an online live guy, so he doesn't do this kind of stuff. But he would be another one.
I emailed him and I texted him the other day about something, and I still haven't gotten a response.
Whatever. So, I'm just saying he'd be another person who I think would be experienced with this. Clover, of course. I don't think he's coming, but so the people that would know about this stuff have, like I say, it would be interesting to talk to about this or get their 2 cents on it. But basically what I'm getting at is I like the concept for sure. Obviously, I wouldn't have built gun channels and had it run for 7 years. We got Every Second Matter still running on that same system. The thing is, they're not just, I want an online community, and there's an online community that happens. There's a lot to it. That's what I wanted to nerd out a little bit. So I was just going to say that the reason I quit doing the web stuff is because of the tactics or the way that web people will be. And I'm just going to throw something out there, since I'm not even in that game anymore, just to mess with their tactics, just to mess with them so that they can't prey on Second Amendment organizations. So again, if you know anybody who has anything to do with Second Amendment information, or a Second Amendment association or group that might be targeted with one of these kind of scams, then I'm going to put this out there for them. I guess if anybody else wants to use it, they can use it. But anyway, these systems are many. Like, I mean, I don't even think there's got to be at least, let's say, more than a dozen at any one time, and they come and go. But software that lets you do anything online, there's almost always going to be like a dozen options, right? There's going to be some version that started it all, right? The original, and either what's the routes that'll go open source or that'll go commercial, and or maybe consumer and commercial, maybe those 3 levels. So there's levels where it'll just always be free and everybody will contribute to it, and that'll be plus and minus. There'll be the versions that get made and are kind of okay, and they'll cost, like, let's say, the $20 to $200 level maybe. And then you'll get your commercial stuff, which is, what big entities are going to use. They're going to put a lot of money into it, and that stuff's going to cost. Now we're talking way more than $200, probably in the 2,000 level and more range. So there's that, anything you look at. We're talking about communities tonight, but you could have a forum, you could have online video hosting, you could have anything you can think of that is done online. I suspect there's going to be software in those 3 levels generally, right? And maybe a couple other levels depending on what kind of software it is or what. But anyway, my concern is that I saw that this organization sent me an email talking about their free online training, and immediately I knew what software they're using. That's our language. So I look at it and I go, okay, it's not bad, it's not good, I'm not bitching. I immediately started thinking about all the problems they might have, and I'm not dooming them to problems, but I don't know. I had as many projects working for 7 years. I've seen problems come and go, and that's what I just wanted to throw out there. There's no perfect software, and anybody who tells you that it's going to be easy to run an online community or an online membership area, the only other person I can think of, I can actually only think of one person who's been successful, and that's going to have debatable opinions on whether, or it's going to have different opinions on whether or not you decide it's profitable, would be USCCA. That's the only thing I can think of that's had a successful online membership area for any number of years, more than like 4. I mean, think about it. Everybody has anybody been a member of the NRA for any length of time and joined their website? Have they had an online site longer than like 4 or 5 years that you're a member of?
I've only logged in to check my membership of the NRA. That's it.
There's things like the instructor area. Like when you're an NRA instructor, you log into a different part of obviously different part of the corporation. Let's say it's probably not even, I mean, it must be somewhere in the midst of it. Maybe it's in the same domain, but something like the NRA is in that commercial level where they're dealing with software that gets updated daily. There's crews of people working, teams of people working to make sure the software works. The level of people that are using that software is so high that money isn't an issue. It's more about, just making sure that it has a good balance of growth versus stability or something, right? Like those are softwares that we're not talking about. They're not going to have to worry about. If they were able to afford those kind of software packages, we wouldn't even be talking about this. But the software that I saw that they were using was in that 200 range, maybe the 2000, on the upper end of the 200 range. It's something you have to pay for, and it's something you got to pay annually for and monthly, depending on what you're doing. You probably, there's almost no chance that they have a tech in-house that does it. So that means they're paying somebody, some sort of consultant to touch anything. iStrike can tell you how much that costs. Huh?
They're paying third party. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, maybe you got a good relationship with somebody who knows something. How long does that last? I mean, think about how long you got a good painter, a good guy that does your yard, or, some kid that is perfect at doing the flowers every year or something, whatever the hell it is, it lasts for a few years, and then there's no solid system. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I don't want to be doom and gloom, but as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, that would be an interesting like Thursday night chat, but not really, because I don't think too many people really care about this. But it might be worth doing some sort of a prepared statement about the concept and putting it out there just so that it can be found. And then maybe, I don't know, sending it to just a few people who might be consulted. I can think of a couple of people that might be consulted. Somebody like a Night Striker in Austin who might, somebody might be thinking, I need something online. Who do I know that does something online that might be I can ask? But just let them know that we've put something out there that kind of breaks it down. I guess you could say it's sort of like the CCW insurance. It seems like it should be a no-brainer, but once you start digging into it, they're all apples and oranges. None of them are really something. So it's very hard to compare them to decide which one is right for you, because it's tough to know. It really takes a while. There's no real good graph out there or some kind of chart that puts all their characteristics in a graph that lets you see what the differences are, because again, their differences are so much. They're apples and oranges. They hardly have any checks in the same column type of thing. I don't know. So I don't know. We got 10 people watching. Nobody's been chatting, so maybe that was too much. But I figured I'd throw it out there. I guess we can leave it die like that. But if there's anybody that ever does want to chuck nerd stuff, there's just so much to running an online membership system. And the thing is, I just happened to turn. I guess. Maybe one of the other reasons I'm tuned into this is I'm turning Gun Channels not back on, but I'm reanimating a portion of it. So I'm going to zombify the main news feed, and I'm going to invite just a couple of people to use so that we still have that element of Gun Channels. I'm not going to try to replicate all of the stuff, because for all the reasons I was trying to allude to, there's a lot to it. It's not just as simple as grab a domain name, grab some software, grab a server, like it is for any other website. Or a typical website, you want to build a website for your store or your project.
Question out there.
Yeah. So go ahead. You do, or somebody does?
No, there's a question. There's a question for both of us. But Daniel Pfeiffer is saying, so are you suggesting the open source version over the lower tier paid versions?
No, there's no perfect. Open source is super riddled with problems. I shouldn't say that. I use open source quite a bit. I use WordPress. WordPress is technically open source. It's one of the most perfect platforms I think there is. And only because the reason I say the same thing with Glocks, it's weird and it's not perfect, but it's existed since 2001. I don't know, for 90s.
I don't know.
Huh?
It gets the job done. It's like this.
Job done. It gives you a chassis that you can do anything with, right? So that's what it does that for decades. It's just done that. So even though it ain't perfect, it's kind of that close enough to being jack of all trades that it's dependable. So
several years ago, I got rid of Word, Microsoft Word, and I just went straight Open Office. That's open source, and that it does the same thing. And I don't have to give Microsoft like $200 a year just for the same software, just an updated version.
Software. For the end user, it might appear to be the same, sure, but let's not act like Microsoft doesn't have whole different sets of accomplishments and resources.
I'm not saying that you do.
So we're not saying one's better than the other, but yeah, the open source versions of what we're talking about, because I don't disagree with you at all. That's software. It's not a website thing, but I agree. Open Office is what I use too. It is a successful open source project that's solid and strong. When we're talking the community, they're usually called membership things. To be honest, most of the internet is trying to make money, right? It's a capitalist system. It's most of it's designed to either make money or facilitate making money, because nothing can exist for free unless you come at it with a big sack of cash and you're just going to create something for free that doesn't need money in it, which some people do. I mean, I've tried to do that before. It's not like it's impossible, but most everything has to be funded. So actually even anything anymore has some kind of facility for you to incorporate ads with it. It might not be the focus, and it might not be, the best working part of their software, depending on what their focus is, but they'll almost always have some facility for you to run ads, a window, a place, or a whole system. And in a case of what we're talking about, the kind of software we're talking about, it was actually created for, and it evolved from the whole garbage, like, hey, do you want to learn how to do real estate, or do you want to learn bookbinding, or do you want to train dog handlers, or whatever the little training thing is. You go join the website for $10 a month, and they put the content up there, and then you join it for as long as whatever the strategy happens to be, some sort of membership system like that. So it needed only rudimentary things. It needed a couple of pages to put data on. It needed a gateway for payments, and then it needed some sort of a membership doorway or threshold. And those elements developed into the software we're talking about in a different way, but similar to how WordPress needed pages to organize posts, and then it needed some images, and it needed users so that you could have multiple people contribute, and then that turned into WordPress. So these things started originally, I think, from that kind of concept. And then people said, hey, I could use that for my club or my organization, because I don't think clubs and organizations created this, but that was just my interpretation of watching the internet develop. But when you use open source version of this, what you're going to get is just a clunky thing. And as the human being putting the tickling the keyboard to make it all happen, you either have to know all that stuff or learn it or pay somebody. And if you pay somebody, you're at the, you're at the whim of what they decide to tell you it's worth. Since it's not common enough, I don't think you can go to Fiverr and get a bunch of people competing to speak English and build one of these things for you. It's just too complicated, and most people that have done it twice will never do it again for another English speaker. So the only people you can get to do it for you are people that have no idea how difficult it's going to be and just are happy to make $6 or $10 or $20 or $100 from you, because they live in countries where $6 or $20 or $100 pays them for like half a month. So they don't care what happens; they're making money. And that's the quagmire you run into with open source, and you run the same thing with paid. I'm not saying you don't run into the same thing with paid. It's just a little different with paid, depending how much you pay. It's just some variation of that, but.
Right.
So going off on that answer, I'm not saying that that open source is bad. It's just that it requires either you to know stuff or you to have a team that can understand. Open source can honestly be some of the strongest and most interesting if you have a good team, because they can look at what the stuff is made out of. So it's sort of like having a house. You can buy the house as like 100% done, furnished, food in the kitchen. Everything's good to go. But then when you do that, you got to like their couch, and you got to like whatever they put in the kitchen for you. You got to like the stove that they used, and you got to like their bathroom. If you don't care, and you're adaptable, or you do like all their stuff, that's perfect for you. Open source is like you buy property maybe, or maybe you buy like a foundation, or maybe you buy a foundation with the walls in place, or maybe you buy a house that's unfinished, or maybe you buy a house that's got the rooms painted and carpets, and the worst you got to do is change a carpet out before you move in. But that's sort of how open source. Would you describe it differently?
No, that's about right.
So if you buy a lot, or you buy a foundation, or you buy like just a foundation with sticks, or you buy a finished building with the walls unpainted or untaped or something, that's cheap. You can definitely buy it that way, and it's perfect for somebody who knows what they're doing. It's perfect, literally perfect. However, if it's not something you can just do, like you don't have a truckload of tools to just go at that foundation or that the unfinished walls or something, then you got to pay somebody. And then it's your relationship with a contractor. And then it's how long that contractor is going to be in business. And let's say that contractor does everything left-handed or 9mm for some reason. They grew up in Europe, right? And then 7 years from now,
I'm opposed to 9mm, but not the left-handed part.
7 months from now, you got to change something because it turns out whatever, an accident, whatever, you're putting an addition on, something burns up, something happens, you got to change something. And the next contractor comes along and goes, well, I'll be more than willing to help you out. And I'm better than them and I'm cheaper than them, but I'm not going to work on 9mm. There's no way I'm lowering my standards to work on 9mm. And they rush out of there and they tell everybody in town, you got 9mm in your house. And now you're never going to get somebody else to work for you. And that's pretty much the risk you run with any of them, really. But that's with working with a contractor. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out, that it can be a quagmire, I guess. I wasn't really trying to bitch that they're using that one. I mean, they got to start somewhere. And honestly, what I'd rather have, I guess, what I'd like to see is somebody who's way smarter than either of us comes together and builds some kind of infrastructure, very much whatever what the next is going to be for the rest of the world. It's going to be something that's a mix of YouTube and Facebook with a little bit of Instagram leaking out of it, right? It's going to be something like that, and there'll probably be eBay in there. It'll be like what's the one that they use over there now? WeSee or YC or whatever the hell it is. There's a single platform that they use over in China and stuff.
WeChat?
No, we something maybe. My or we. Anyway, whatever it is, you can. It's basically like their Facebook. If Facebook was a little bit bigger here and everybody used Facebook, you would just wipe Facebook in front of the coffee and it would pay for the coffee, or you would wiggle Facebook a certain way and a Uber would come up. It's sort of just everything like we. Like if Facebook's Ultimate Fantasy happened and everything integrated to Facebook, it's just that when you got a communist country, they probably enjoy it all being in one app.
Are you talking about Baidu?
Which one?
Baidu.
Maybe they're saying it differently, but that might be the one. It's sort of like, really, I don't know. I don't use it, obviously. So I just had it described to me that they all dwarf our platforms anyway. Like our platforms have millions of users. Their platforms have billions of users. Yeah. So they have to work a little differently with a multitude higher level of users. But anyhow, so I was just I wasn't really trying to say one's better than the other as much as just offering some advice and really just trying to fill some time. So we wasted half an hour talking about it, but whatever, it's out there on the internet now. And if someone does happen to have somebody's ear and they go, hey, we're going to build a system with a membership thing, and now all of our users can meet online. I'm just going to say this. You can do so much more with guntube.org for nothing. You don't have to worry about no infrastructure. You don't have to worry about no technicians. You just have to log in and use it, accomplish what you're trying to get accomplished. And if it works for the group, then decide it might be worth building our own thing. It might be worth just sticking with GunTube and investing in some GunTube infrastructure for that group. But it might turn out that, like a lot of times, you go, hey, I know it would be perfect. Let me build this. And then you build it and nobody shows up. That whole bullshit about if you build it, they will come. Maybe sometimes you build something and people show up. Sometimes you build something, nothing happens. They never made a movie about all the stuff that got built, nobody showed up to. So, there's that possibility. So anyway, I don't like to tell people, build something and then see if your members like it. Try something, see if your members like it and develop it. But if the group that you're building this for is all over the country and they're never been online at the same time before, you find out that because of health and family and church and school and jobs, there's no way that you're going to get more than 6 of them in the same room at the same time. You would have wasted a lot of effort and resources to get that out there.
Right.
To find out that it's useless, and then it would fall apart. And that's how those developers, they're not unscrupulous. It's just that that's how they make a living. Like that's one of the things you got to do as a web guy. You got to be willing to let somebody spend a lot of time, a lot of your time, because they're paying for it. And then a lot of resources, a lot of money, like just a ton of money. And not just the money, but the time of the individuals involved. I've seen doctors' offices and lawyers spend tons of money, and then every once in a while I'd have an organization come along and go down a route of spending a lot of money. And as a web guy, all you can do is go, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and do the job. As a consultant, you can say, you gave me some parameters. Here's my opinion. You don't like my opinion? See ya, and you can leave them alone. I like being a consultant. When you're a web guy and they're paying you to just drive a stake into their productivity, efficiency, like future evolution because of some stupid thing they decided to do with online, and they're paying you to do it. As soon as you say, this is a dumb idea, you're kicked to the curb, and they hire somebody to drill that hole into their skull. Like they're idiots. So that part is pretty frustrating. Anyway, so I'm not bitching about open source, and I'm just saying that there's.
I want to comment on open source just real quick. You know, you've got your open source software, and then you've got like your paid software. It's not the most expensive one, but just like say the run of the mill one. Okay, you got two contrasting views. Okay, and while the third part, the open source stuff will work just like the third part, just like the mid road paid software, but you with open source you end up having to do a lot of that extra work to get it to do just as if you had bought the software, to make it work just as well. So it's like it's like this. You either buy, a nice used car that doesn't need to be fixed up, or you buy a used car that needs to be fixed up and you got to do some wrenching.
True, and sometimes you'd rather buy the one that's all beat up, that you're going to put a new starter in, you're going to put a new oil pump in.
Right.
You got a new starter, a new oil pump.
Because you're going to expand.
You buy one that says it's got a new oil pump. Well, it turns out that guy grinds his gears and it needs a new oil filter or something. Yeah. All right. So.
Yeah. It's the best way I could explain that. I hope I did a good job.
It's tough, and we're thinking about years worth of issues and conversations and things, the results of stuff, and then trying to say stuff in a conversation right now. So feel free if somebody wants to elaborate on any of that, but more than likely they're probably sick of it. Chris saying there's been a horrible trend with YouTube and channels lately with their live chats. This one isn't even listed on mobile devices. I had to get my laptop. We were talking about that actually earlier, and I think I agree with Night Strike. It's that there's a ton of people online right now, and the way the logarithms work is they look at what people are doing and they respond. So if people are online looking for information about panic or the crisis, or like somebody was telling me, you were telling me about buying toilet paper online. I never even thought about that. So if people are online, buying some essentials or whatever,
or they're just watching the news online.
Yeah, whatever. Like there's just a lot of traffic. So that's messing with the logarithms. Now we know that YouTube is sending people home and they're doing stuff from at home, but I have no idea how maintaining logarithms is or managing that. But those crews are probably on low hours, if any. So there's probably, I don't know how logarithms work, but I'm assuming they need to be massaged a little bit or monitored somehow. Whatever that is probably not happening. But at the same time, we're just seeing unprecedented usage of a system. It's unprecedented. So there's no way to say like this time around YouTube is doing X, Y, Z. Honestly, as much as I complain or whatever, YouTube is an awesome platform that allows us to do amazing stuff. The fact that it's running right now is pretty good. But like we just said, there's systems that are way bigger. It's not like YouTube's the biggest thing out there. It's just the biggest thing that English people talk about because it's our language. If you go to a language that's got billions of people on it, there's way bigger platforms than YouTube. And I would be curious as a web guy, there are some web guys that actually have invites to this chat. As a web guy, it'd be interesting to see one of those, some sort of a global chart of like internet usage or something. I've seen them for like attacks and things, talking about that show like the different things that are happening in real time. It'd be neat to see like usage right now. The business usage is down, so it's shifting. But I agree with people that have said it's probably going up also because people are just, using more devices and looking at more stuff. There's more stuff to see every day. There's news, there's curiosity, there's need, and then there's just more distribution that's happening. Massive levels of distribution are happening. Although some of it's dipping off, others of it is just increasing a shit ton. But anyhow, so yeah, I'm not going to complain. But yeah, keep in mind that if you think somebody's live, they probably are. Now, actually, why don't we do something here since we're live and we like to do stuff like this? That's my screen over there. Oh, there's Mr. Knives out there. Did you get that email, Mr. Knives? And then if I go, I can just type it in here. Maybe if I know how to type, run. Type channels. I haven't typed in a while. So if you go to it,
Knives.
So that's all there is right now. But I can go to the admin. And I can go to over here off screen. I'll go to this page. And then in the admin, I will go to appearance and widgets. So when you look at any WordPress site, and I like to use a simple one, this one's pretty simple. You got a top, you got a left, you got a right. That means there's a bottom. So I'm going to go to the bottom things there. Site admin, logout stuff. Let's see which one of those has. Dang it, that's all right there. So first I'm going to throw away these things because I just don't want them in there. And then we'll refresh and refresh. And now there's just a top, a side, and a thing. Now we're going to add a bottom under there. And what we're going to add under there is this here. Nope, not this. All right, I got to find my code that I want to put in there. Oh, I might have to go find the code. So I'm going to put this code in there. No, it's this one. Okay, so I'll take this piece of code that I just have off screen over here, and I'll open up footer 1 and grab this thing called custom. These are little modules. Like I could put an audio clip down there for some reason if I wanted. I could put a gallery of pictures down there for some reason if I wanted. But in this case, I'm going to put this code that I was looking for off air or off screen, paste that in there. And now that I've pasted that in there, if I go over here and refresh this page, it should show up down here. Now we've got this little bottom part exists. And for some reason, they're super tiny. I'll have to tweak at that. But now we got that banner from Gun Channels back in the day that would rotate different channels up there.
Can you remove Chris's message there so I can see the whole? Thank you.
I'm looking for that thing I used to have at the top. The oh, I can just go somewhere I have that. Where did I have that? Did I stick it on? I don't know where I stuck it. Anyway, eventually I'll grab the schedule, and I'm going to stick the schedule probably right at the top like it used to be.
Right.
And then we'll have that schedule. So I guess we started out with talking about Chris saying that he couldn't find the show on
YouTube.
On the announcement or whatever, the subscription bar or whatever they call it. So yeah, I'm going to put the banners in. Oh, they got the rotating banners on there, but I'll make them bigger and then put the old daily schedule at the top. I just got to go find where the code is for that daily schedule.
You doing that right now, or?
Oh, I'm muted. What?
Yeah, you were muted, so I wasn't sure whether you were going to do that right now or if you were going to do that later.
Oh no, I just started saying a bunch of stuff, but for some, I guess I was thinking about something else and I clicked the mute instead of turning it off. Anyway, I was saying Knives is out there. I don't know if Knives has seen my email. Is it an email? Email. And I am talking and typing at the same time here. So I'll see if I can open this. I'm on this new computer, so I don't know if everything I got has logins, that kind of thing. I think I found it. Oh yeah, no worries. I was just asking if you got the email with the password. I'll chat with you offline. I don't have to do it online right now. I'm also multitasking, so I am looking for that banner thing. I just went to the source. This is what it looks like when you. I don't want to show you.
Were you looking for a header image or something?
No, it's a piece of snippet of code that sends that daily schedule out. I just need to get to the place where it is so that I can get the code. It must have been here then. It's been a while since I went over here and looked for anything either, so that's the other problem. Italian. Shit. Uh-oh, I think I might have found it. Uh-oh, I should have clicked on the button right here. Invocation code. I think I got it. Okay, so now I'll go back to screen sharing and I can quit being distracted. So we're on the zombie gun channels. How am I gonna shove them in here? I'm gonna do it in a way that I'm not gonna even try to do this. I'm just gonna hack the template real quick.
Uh-oh. Watch out.
I wanna shove it up here. And there's not going to be anything. If I go into the up here, the customize the theme little area, it's not going to give me anything to shove it up here permanently because of why ever. Who cares? They just don't do that. So instead, I'm going to leave that open over here. I'm going to go in, close out of that kind of WYSIWYG editor, and I'm going to go into the theme editor, which is just the HTML of the pieces. And what, a header maybe? No, it'll be body. So I'm going to go find one that says something like body. I guess it's single page. And then it'll say stuff about a header, and then it'll say some crap about div blah, 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 and then some other stuff. So I'm going to try shoving it in right here after this header. And I'll just type it in GGG big and update. That won't break anything. And I will see if we see that anywhere. It shoved it over here. I don't want it over there. So I'm going to take those G's and I'm going to move them. I don't know where to put them. I guess it's not going to be in this because if I put them, no, it won't go in here.
Put it in between that center tag.
What center tag?
Use the HTML center tag.
I don't want them to be formatted over here. I just want to see where they pop up. I want them in that white bar. So this isn't the right chunk. So I'm going to just update that to get rid of the G's and verify it. The G's are gone. So now I'm going to go over here and find, it isn't single page then. It's probably theme header. Duh. So the header is going to have the head in it, but it's also going to start the body. And that's where I need it to be. So we got here's HTML 101. You got a head and you got a body, period. That's all there is to a website. The head is a bunch of gobbledygook and the body's even more gobbledygook. The head you don't see, the body you see. So the body when it says body here, now we start seeing stuff we see and it calls a bunch of garbage and it does some stuff, blah, 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 a bunch of weird code stuff. And then what it craps out to is the end of header and then the masthead and a bunch of stuff. So we got to just grab somewhere. I'm going to go here and see what happens if I type PGGGG. Hit enter. It's because that's probably not going to break anything. And then I go over here and I click on this. Now it's pretty damn close. I'm not going to sit around forever worrying about it, so that's close enough. Now I'm going to do what Night Strike just said. I'm going to type in that little caret, center, little caret, and you don't even have to do anything. It already adds the other side of it. And now I'm going to put in that piece of code that I got off screen here. Hit update, and now if I did it right, the G should have shifted to the center and been replaced by a banner, or in this case, a schedule. Formatting's horrible, but now we've got, what's tomorrow? Saturday's live schedule. Raw chat, Rick's Life as I See It. Second is for everyone. Today Media Workshop. Foreign and Domestic. Snob. And then when they used to tag team. So I got to go update the schedule, reformat it, and now it'll be at the top of there for people when we use it. And then you see the banner down here will rotate. Let's go make that bigger. So that's enough of digging into theme headers, and it'll tell you as soon as you touch this, don't go in here. You don't know what you're doing, don't go in here. So don't go in there. This wasn't a tutorial. So then we'll go back to plugins. No, wait, going to widgets. And I'll try shoving it under one of these other footers first, just to see what that does. Because these footers are always stupid. I don't like footers, actually. I don't know if that's any bigger or not. I don't think it is. And then we'll put it in footer 3. Refresh that page, and it didn't do anything. So F all the footers. We will take this code and cut, and then we'll do exactly what we said not to do. We're going to delete this, and we're going to go right back into the theme editor. And this time I am going to that page.
You go to the footer page.
No. Oh, wait, I should put it. I could put it on top of the footer. I was going to put the bottom of the page. You're right. I should probably put it on top of the footer. So I'll go to the footer. This time, blah, 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 stuff. We go to wherever it says stuff, and then sidebar, probably after that sidebar garbage, site info, probably right here. So this you just learn by, all you got to do is do HTML for like 12 years, and you'll be able to cut right into these things anytime you need to. Update that, and then channels. So it's still going to look like garbage up top, but now we should have a bunch of Fs right in the middle without that stupid black line. So do the same thing, put a center. Didn't even have to type the whole thing before, huh? So there's that, and then paste.
That's really useful.
Yeah, that's just part of WordPress too, right? So yeah, it makes it easy to mess up your WordPress. You could go in here and very easily destroy your entire site. Don't go in here ever. We're showing you stuff that you should not be looking at.
Tip: if you're going to edit your WordPress template, make sure you make backups.
Yeah, don't do what I just did and edit it and then leave the thing that you edited because you assume you did it right, even though I do because I'm awesome. But yeah, you should never do what I just did. What I just did there is the equivalent of shooting a round off, holstering my gun, leaving the range before it hit the target. But I'm awesome, so it worked.
Well, I'm going to take some credit for you for this because I told you to go and edit the footer. So, I'm taking some credit.
If he wouldn't have done that, it would have had a black bar around it because I would have jammed it in a place where it would have been like a black bar around it. But anyway, so now the thing pops up random and in real life size. So I still got to go tweak with the front of this, which I have to do in another site, and I'll do that some other day. Because that's going to tweak it on millions of sites. But now you get into the part where a regular web designer who's never done squat would go, "Oh yeah, I did all the things you asked for," and then you would go, "Oh, can you just change this for me real quick?" And he would change that for you real quick, and then he would go, or she would do this because chicks do this too. And then they would leave, and you'd never hear from them again. And then tomorrow you would figure out that what they changed affected every other project you have, and they screwed it up, and now every other project you have is destroyed. But this one looks good. And that happens all the damn time. All right, so that's that. So, did you ever answer about the email? Gee, I got no mic. Yeah, okay. I guess I'll have to email him separate. But yeah, thanks, Knives. I also sent him a link to join. That's what he was talking about with that, the mic thing. Let's see. Making the banners cool. Problem I have is, I don't know what to do. What are they talking about? Banner. How far back were we?
You're back a ways. I'm current. So current comment is "Night at Mr. Nice" by Chris Palmer.
Well, no, I'm going back up here to figure out where the hell we have left off. So there's him saying he's late. There's Knives jumping in. Is Night Strike in the pocket? He likes open source more than I do. I've dealt with more open source shit with clients, I think, than him.
Well, I use it more for personal and
yeah. When it's yours, open source is great because it's all yours. Yeah. That's like, if it's your house, you want a house that's just a foundation, ideally, especially if you can build it. You don't want anybody touching nothing of yours, right? But
unless I was building a website for someone and they want me to do it cheaply, then that's the only reason I'd use open source.
Just got a device over 100 years old. Oh, right on. Yeah, I've seen some really neat. The logarithm throws. What do they call, like, somebody buys something all rusty at a pawn shop,
restore it,
and they clean it up. Yeah, I get a lot of those videos.
Yeah, I got those too.
Anvils and stuff. For some reason, I must have watched one once, and YouTube thinks I love that stuff, so it shows that to me. You know what else happened? when I go to YouTube, if it shows me something I don't like, because there's people who I don't even want to be in the same room with. I know them and I hate them basically. So I don't want to see their freaking video suggestions. There's like little dots on there. You click on that and you can say, don't show me this type of video anymore, or don't show me this person anymore. And then that helps because I'll tweak that quite a bit. I want that logarithm to know I don't want to see stuff. And then it shows you the weirdest stuff in the world sometimes because it doesn't know what you want now. I think that's a worthy exercise once in a while, just to tell the logarithm you don't like something you like, just so that it doesn't know you.
Well, here's the thing. I watched some of those restoring videos, and then eventually, I was watching this one channel, and the dude starts restoring old guns just out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it because I was watching him do all these cool tools, restore them. And then out of nowhere, he gets these revolvers, the shotguns, rifles and stuff. And I'm like, cool. So, hey, guns.
Yeah, and I wasn't really trying to do a tutorial as much as just pull the curtain back a little bit, especially because, like I say, I just been in a minute here. Hans, I think, asked something, or DTP. But yeah, I'd just been dealing with, for 7 years, we used a membership system that cost money, significant amount of effort to keep it going, and resources. It's not, when you have real software, you can't have a little dinky computer. You need a decent computer underneath of it. So, that kind of stuff is all factors in. And I'm trying to do something to accomplish some of the goals or some of the results, but not pay for all the extra stuff that we definitely don't need anymore. So as I was looking around recently for open source, for free versions, not even open source. So we missed something in that list. There's free versions of paid stuff, and you can sometimes accomplish a lot. Sometimes you can do a lot of legwork with free versions of paid stuff. And that's a whole nother skill set, is being able to pick the right paid stuff to use the free one. Because if you pick the wrong version and you start using some free stuff, get everybody accustomed to it, and then figure out you really needed the other version, right, that's a problem, or can be a problem. But anyway, that we forgot about that.
But you get that with paid software too.
That's what I'm saying, the free version of paid stuff, because there are things that it's not open source for sure. I mean, it is something that is being updated, and they're going to give you limited access to some awesome thing, and you can always have the ability to jump up. But it's not perfect either, because obviously they only give you certain pieces. Now there's some software where you can buy or get a free base model and then just buy a la carte the pieces you need. But often it's like a bundle or some upgraded package or something. They're not going to just most of the time, they're not looking to make it super easy on you, on your wallet. They're trying to make it useful for their company to make a living and pay for all the infrastructure and everything. So
right.
Anyway, so yeah, they're saying that's like something in the pocket of big open source would say. There's Knives again. Hope Knives is doing okay. He's an interesting part of the world for all this stuff happening.
Yeah.
I know that he's got unprecedented access to the Pacific Ocean right now, I bet. I'm hoping you're enjoying it, getting an opportunity to enjoy that.
Soak up some sun.
Well, that he has any time. I'm saying though, like beach access, like that normally, a bunch of people would be there. I bet you there's not a bunch of people there. So yeah, there's no announcement. I've just been fiddling with making, it's frustrating to not have gun channels at a time like this when there's lots of stuff that needs to get around communications wise. So I'm just putting a basic rudimentary news feed together, and I've been digging around with how to do that on the cheap and on the free without, anything's free if you spend 2 months researching it, right? Anything, you can make a perfect free version if you got 2 months to research it. So I'm also trying to do that in like 2 afternoons or 2 evenings, basically after the Daily Gun Show kind of thing. Cram it in before I fell asleep. So I just had it on my mind recently, going through all the options again, having some awareness from years of it, and then kind of opening up some of the, what would you call, like first chapters of stuff when you're talking like free versions, when the level of stuff we've been dealing with, we're definitely not in the first chapters of anything anymore. So it's been a long time since I looked at, how do I just get a free news feed again? And I was basically dealing with free versions of paid software, and then a couple of open source things. Honestly, I don't even remember. After all of that, It's sort of like when you're going to buy a computer or you're trying to buy a hotel or something. If it's not something you know exactly what you want, because you for some reason you know exactly what you want, then you're always going to have to make some decision at some point with some unknown factor. And that's sort of what I had to do. I just kept looking and looking and looking until I got it down to like 3, and then 3 a.m. one night probably just said, okay, this is the one that's going to work out of these 3. I don't even remember which one it was, but I'll invite a couple of random people in, not random, I'll invite a couple of individuals in, and we'll create the news feed. I already did accomplish half of what I wanted to do. Just put the schedule back up so that when like Fine Ape is reading the schedule, or Gary, I think, tries to read the schedule, Rick will try to read the schedule, just so they have an actual schedule to read. And then I'm going to try to get a group of people together to keep it going so that I don't have to, because I can't. Took it down because I can't. But I don't want it to not exist, and nobody else has picked it up and run with it yet. And anyway, so I'm going to do something like that. So that's in a nutshell, what's happening there. I have no idea what the time frame will be. Depends on how fast or how soon people respond to emails and that kind of thing. You're getting asked how GunTube is coming along.
I responded out there in the chat.
Yeah, well, you texted it, and some people are just listening to this. I've been putting these back up on iTunes, so I'm guessing maybe thousands of people each night are looking forward to this and then only listen to it in audio. Sure, a lot of those are young ladies, but you can still tell them how GunTube is going.
GunTube's going good. Working on the chamber specifically, and parts of the video site, trying to get everything to work together perfectly. So, it's not easy, but hey, nothing ever is.
Isn't that back pedal? He's trying to somehow fluff up open source, but still be greedy enough to get money for his platform. What a delicate dance he's got to
actually, I would like to mention that the software GunTube is using now, as far as the video portion of the site, is paid software, not open source. Just FYI.
So look at here's his long explanation. I'm sorry I'm going to put this much wordage on the screen. All right, so what if you combine features of Gun Channels into GunTube? Well, guess what? I tried sticking that chocolate into other people's peanut butter, and they all grabbed their peanut butter jar away like if I was asking them to do something crazy. Nobody wants to get into that craziness. If they wanted to build platforms that were communities, they would have done it.
Funny you should mention that. What is that? I did set up I set up a minor community site which just has a front news page and whatnot, and still has the whole friends list and whatnot. But it's open source stuff, so GWeb automatically doesn't like it, but it does the same job.
So you got a news feed, basically.
Yeah, a community-esque site. So
he just hasn't advertised it. It's so exclusive that only 3 people are allowed to join it with him.
No, anybody's allowed to sign up and join it. It's just that they're.
Anyway, I approached everybody as I was shutting down Gun Channels. I was like, I'm shutting down Gun Channels tomorrow. You want to do something with it? And they were like, huh? And then I shut it down. So none of them responded in an adequate way. But nobody in their right mind would want it. It's simple to say, like, anybody can start a website, but running a community of people is more than a full-time job. It needs at least a couple of people. And nobody wanted a community site when they built their video hosting platforms. So I only took it to Gun Streamer and Night Strike, but both of them.
I did offer to host Gun Channels for G. I just want to put that out there.
Hosting isn't the same as running a fucking platform. So you can, and he doesn't have any idea what hosting it is. I don't want to talk shit, but you'd have no idea what hosting a platform for that kind of software is. It's not one guy runs it remotely. That's teams of people need to run that shit. Like I say, I'm not even whatever, and it's not that. It's not the software. If Night Strike hired people to do the stuff that was necessary, running a community of human beings is different than having a platform that facilitates uploading files. There's just different things going on. People expect different things from it. But because of that, now nobody was interested or able, and it wasn't like like a 3-year transition plan or something that we could have started off or whatever. But like say he has a forum also, or just
No, it doesn't have. I haven't gotten the forum because you have to pay for the forum, and I'm not gonna put any money into this. I'm just hosting this just for people to screw around with.
Yeah, so if you want to play with whatever he's got going on there, I'm assuming like anything, if there's interest and people use it, then it'll evolve and it'll get more attention. But it's tough.
But as is, nobody's been using it, so there's no point in doing anything with it.
Well, okay, great. You can say, hey, I put a bucket of water out here. Nobody's drinking it. So what's the point of putting a bucket of water out here? But if you don't tell anybody a bucket of water is out there, then they don't know to come over and drink it. So it's a cycle. That's what I was just about to say. You can build something. You can, what do they say, lead a horse to water?
You can't make them drink.
Again, when I say putting together software is one thing, you have to basically devote a good amount of your effort, your time, your efforts, and your attention into making it work. So YouTube has that accomplished already. When people go to YouTube, they can look around and figure out what's going on. When you build something brand new, nobody can look around yet. There's a lot to accomplish to get something off and running, especially when it doesn't have a massive wave of attention or motivation behind it. When you're attempting to wave a flag and let people know you've got a cool thing over here on the side of the road, it's the old thing from ever anybody's ever had. When you're starting something new, getting people aware of the new thing. But at the same time,
I've been putting the link to it in the description of my videos. So
yeah, it doesn't matter if people. That's what I was gonna say. You can let 1,000 million people know about something. If they're not interested in it, they ain't interested in it. And when it's something new that they don't know to be interested in, then it's not like anyway. It doesn't matter. All I'm saying is, you can build the biggest, fanciest thing in the world. That's sort of what I said when I started this whole thing. You could be suckered into buying the biggest, most elaborate. The stuff I was using with gun channels was not the most elaborate. It was a $2,500 software package running on, a really expensive computer. But that's nowhere near what Microsoft is running. I mean, obviously theirs is proprietary, but it's something, a big company with a real login system makes mine look like a little punk bitch. But nobody's paying for that. Most organizations are probably going to get sold what Nightstrike built, right? And how long? Just nobody cares, I don't think, unless you don't want to say how long did it take you to put that together. Let's just put it this way: days, hours, weeks.
A day or two at most.
Yeah, days, and that's with Nightstrike farting around and deciding. If he would have done this 100 times, he could have put that together in hours. So when you get a website guy who has figured out something and he can put it together in hours and he just keeps selling that same old thing over and over and over, it's really efficient. You can really make a lot of money. And what you get is a bunch of clients who have something that you were able to build in a couple of hours. And if it works for them, it's great. But it isn't a custom made thing for each client. And that's, I guess, a thing too, is that these companies are going to get offered stuff that who knows if people want that or not. Like this email that got me going was an email saying, hey, because we can't get together and do this event this year, we're going to get together virtually with this new platform. And I was thinking, that's a sales pitch. Like there's going to be a bunch of people getting that sales pitch. And if they all get some little cookie cutter thing that some guy figures out how to make, some girl figures out how to make in an afternoon, and that's what they're selling because that's what they know how to make, that ain't what everybody needs. And, we know the nuances of these things. Just because somebody knows how to put it together does not mean it accomplishes the requirements of what all these different organizations need. Anyway, we got back into the nerdy stuff. That's what happens. So is Nightstrike the creator of GunTube? Yeah. If you haven't used GunTube, you've actually used GunTube because we use it whenever I got more than 6 people in here or if I don't want to do this thing. This is really the only thing it's missing that this one has. The Pato has this little, what do you call, comment grabber.
Yeah. That eludes me. So if I could ever figure that out.
A lot of people use the tube for their broadcast, actually, when you watch live stuff. Just look for the cylinder up here. When you see the cylinder up here instead of Elpato, then you know it's the tube.
When we mean a lot of people use the GunTube to stream to YouTube, I mean they're using GunTube Chamber. It's that link right here at the top right of GunTube. You click on that, it opens up the chamber. You just type in a room name, press go, like say test or toost or whatever, It doesn't matter, and it brings you into an old Hangout S style room like that.
No. Well, yeah, esque for sure. Better. There's definitely more tools, but we're not selling guns to quit trying to sell
Right.
your chamber around here. So, but Night Strike does have a Patreon for the tube. Let's see, anyone can sign up for an account on the tube. Yeah, you don't need an account to watch videos. It's like other video hosting platforms. You only need an account if you're going to upload, but to watch them, anybody can come along and just watch them.
You can just watch them right off the website. But if you want to comment or follow other GunTubers on GunTube, you'd want an account. And I've got free accounts forever. But if you want to upload all of your archive, I have paid memberships for that because I don't have advertising to help me pay for the server fees to hold all that data.
Yeah, I'm glad you took down those stupid ass ads at the top. I hope you're not putting them back because I like sites without all that crap at the top. Night Strike had
they're only on the main page. They're only on the main page. So they're not on the videos anymore.
Oh. Right.
I'm actually getting ready to remove those too because it's annoying.
I don't bring any money in, right? Like you're not getting a dime from Palmetto.
Nobody has used these links to buy anything.
People recommending them. They're a function. They are a thing, but that's a thing for people that get millions of views on their sites.
Yeah.
When we would, and in the heyday, gun channels had a million views a month when it was rocking, right? And in the heyday, $0 come in from those ads, and that's a community of people that give a shit and are telling each other theoretically, like, "Hey, here's how ads work. When you need to go buy something, click on an ad of a site that you appreciate, and then people know how those ads work. They're not crazy, so those ads do not bring in money. I don't like them, and that's one of the reasons I don't like them. They don't work for the company either. The company gets frustrated as shit. And then the company, right, and this, we're not picking on them. Any company that works with ads is trying to advertise just like anybody else. And every once in a while, they do get a website that works with their ads, right? And they make good money on their ads. But on sites like this, the process, the what do you call, like the system, that the affiliate system like that, it means that the company move off of their ads so that we're not picking on them, but the company I guess I could unlock it off your screen too. The company though that pays for that ad, because they're only going to get performance from the biggest of the performers, they're going to, by nature, they're going to ignore the others. And that means that tons and tons, potentially, usually, lots and lots and lots of websites are going to run their ad and they're going to be ignored by the company completely. They have to be. They just are going to be ignored by the company. And that they're never going to get any satisfaction because they're never going to, the content creators never going to make a dime. They're going to be constantly frustrated. They're going to be constantly on their knees begging that company to pay attention to them. And the company is never going to. They're only going to be able to pay attention to the biggest players. And I think that just feeds garbage. It's a garbage in, garbage out scenario. It doesn't need to exist like that. So
I've only gotten to pay out a couple times from that whole affiliate thing.
Yeah, and that'll happen occasionally after, like, accidentally people click on stuff, but very rarely is it. Never. Very rarely. It never is a moneymaker for anybody of not huge scale. You have to literally devote your projects to prey on people who are skimming the internet and happen to, you have to build little funnels that they have to click on or they get tricked into clicking on. And that's how you embed a cookie and make a few bucks on those systems. They foster dubiousness crap. They foster using the internet in poor ways. They have a good purpose, but lazy people suggest them too much. Same thing with Amazon links, honestly. Amazon links are worse though. Because you get even less return on those.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop screen sharing this.
Oh, you're done screen sharing? So we got real nerdy on all of that, but whatever. Apparently that's where Dives left. So that was, thing on here, 57, and it's 27. I'm a half an hour behind in the comments. Making the banner is cool, but the problem I've been having is not only do I not get the notification about the shows being live, it's completely nowhere to found, so there's nothing to click on.
Yeah, they're talking about YouTube.
Okay. only shows up when I've been on the actual laptop. Completely missing. I don't even know. I don't really watch. I never watch YouTube on a phone. I can't hear it. Why would you want to watch YouTube on a phone?
Well, some people have earbuds.
I guess. Then you go deaf.
Or they got those Bluetooth earbuds these days, and I don't like those. I'd rather just have a pair of headphones.
Oh, he's saying the red dots. Like normally I'll go to YouTube, click on that thing on those little lines on the left, and then it'll open up and show you who's live.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even do that anymore. Yeah. Or if it does, it'll say like who was live. Like it'll say that they're live 8 hours after they were live.
Right.
But that's again the huge giant systems. I mean, a platform that's the biggest in this country, the biggest in English speaking, I guess, and then has servers that have to live off in the ocean, you know, in order to stay cool because they're running constantly. Like that's just a system that needs a bunch of people. Let's see. Oh, that's the thing that happened to me. Somebody was live yesterday and I went to their channel and looked and it wasn't showing up. And then today I went to my own channel and looked, and this video wasn't showing up on my own, me going to my own channel. It wasn't even showing the video that I was in. You know what I mean? Like I was in it. It was waiting to go live and it wasn't showing up on my own channel. So that's just, like gun channels. I had caches and things I had to delete. I don't know, depending on how busy the site was, daily, weekly, you know, every other couple of days kind of thing. I can't even imagine the kind of maintenance YouTube has. Not to mention just not even including the malware attacks and shit like that. But just the regular maintenance of how servers collect and maintain data. There goes Knives. Everybody saying goodbye. And yeah, you pretty much do. The old metal was different. They put cheaper metal in. People don't use everything for ultimate use. So, you know, I'm not complaining. I understand that not everything needs to be hardcore, but yeah,
they
I don't
used to
think
make things that just worked and last, and now they don't really do that anymore.
Well, they overkilled everything and they just didn't realize resources weren't yet, you know, they were still abundant and they didn't realize they were using such good stuff sometimes, or I mean, like they just didn't realize. You build something to the ultimate extent and it costs you $14. But then you find out after market research that people only really need about $7 worth of it, and they're just wasting that other $7. Now you can bring the price down to 10, make more money, you know, probably because maybe you were making that thing, selling it at 14, it was costing you 12. So you're only making $2 on it. But you figure out if you make it for 7 and it can work, you can sell it for 10, making $3, taking you less of your resources. So now you're going to be able to make more of them over time. And people are more satisfied, or just as satisfied, if not more satisfied, because now it's lighter and it still accomplishes everything they need. And then you just, you know, maybe you make a heavy duty model, your old model, you know, in much less production for a while. But then if nobody buys that old one, you quit making it. And now the only old ones are around. You can't say that new stuff sucks because of that. It's just that, you know, things change. Now, if the trend goes to where people need a 20-pound thing and, you know, the old 10 ones aren't working anymore, you know, maybe it goes back, but anyway. So it's not always cut and dry. But what's going on here? The screen share looks like one of those infinities. Yeah, that's how you go backwards in the internet. That's how we save time on these shows. See, that's how Black Hat is in here during the morning, and it's actually at night because we used a tunnel portaling, internet tunnel, time tunnel portaling. It's sort of like those mushroom channels that the.
Are you telling me you traded in the cop car for DeLorean?
No, I would just make a time thing out of a cop car. Or actually, you could make it out of a Tesla truck now. Those are stainless steel.
Yeah, those are stainless steel. There you go.
It's already electric, so you're already.
Yeah, you can always say that sucker's electrical.
Fatal internet funnel.
Yeah.
Watching on my phone. Well, I don't know how you can listen in a car, in a truck. Probably have to have earbuds, but I think he does. I think you talked about that. Yeah, noise canceling. I've never had anything that fancy. I just get the dollar store wired earphones and use them till they break and buy another pair of dollar ones. All right, and now we're up to date.
I usually just get a $20 pair of Bluetooth headphones and use that on my computer. And then I could use it on my phone.
No, I'm talking about my phone. No. I'm talking about my phone because you got to.
This will work on my computer, on my phone, on my laptop, just literally anything that's Bluetooth.
I don't use Bluetooth enough. I'm thinking you got to plug something in to accept Bluetooth. The phone already has Bluetooth in it, yeah. So now I don't really use Bluetooth enough.
My laptop has it built in, whereas I had to buy a USB adapter to get it to do on my computer. So
but nowadays, I guess the computers probably have Bluetooth in them also for keyboards and stuff.
Newer ones too, yeah.
Did everybody here get their patches? We talking about from yesterday? You didn't get one yesterday because you weren't here yesterday when we gave out patches. What I was gonna do, speaking of that, so let's say Wednesday we had a challenge where I put out there if you could come up with a gun phrase that wasn't on the list of like 184 gun phrases, that you would get a patch. And then a bunch of people earned patches because we got like 40 something suggestions. So a couple of people got like a patch or two, and then a couple of people got like 14 patches or 8 patches. So there was 40 patches that were going out. So on Thursday, we went live yesterday, and on this show, let people pick their patches live, and that was amazing. It was some of the best television you've ever seen. And then today, all right, then some people didn't show up, like this guy who's commenting right now, and Trucker even, I think. Maybe, I don't remember. And then, no, it was Tim I'm thinking of. Anyway, there was a couple of people that didn't show up. Clover quirked me instead of showing up.
He does that.
Yeah, he does that kind of stuff. And then somebody else didn't show up. So anyway, what I was going to do today, and I totally forgot about it, was let other people pick their free patches. So I was thinking about doing that, but I didn't announce it yet. So I don't know what I'm going to do. We got maybe 5 people, I think, that didn't get their patches or didn't pick a patch or have a free patch coming. Or I could just pick a random free patch. There was no, I think originally I said you could get a free patch, and then it was implied that you could pick the patch, but then when it got into like the 40 number, I don't care. Like that's way too many to keep track of. So I think I'd have to go check my email. Oh, good. I just did get an email from Knives that gives me some very good news about Knives, so nobody has to worry about Knives.
That's good to hear. I worry about that guy.
And then where is the thing that I'm talking about? It's in my sent mail. Because if I sent it to myself, yes. All right, so we got Guy gets 1, Tactical Mustache 1, Clover Tack 1, Tim 18 7, and he didn't show up yesterday. And Southpaw, if they're out there today. All of them I got to deal with.
No, I don't think Southpaw's out there.
Oh, okay. You wanted to give yours to Gizzard? I have not yet sent anything to Gizzard. So if you want to pick something, I just don't have the ambition to go set everything up again because I have to go grab everything and set it up and stick my phone over here on this thing. If you got a patch in mind, keeping in mind, like, I forget, I didn't even count, but like 20 or something plus got taken off the panels yesterday. Stolen. And some people would say stolen. I'm not saying stolen. But if you got something in mind, I'll throw that into Gary's pile for you. In fact, there's something else going into Gary's pile because I had sent that suggestion out there for anybody that wants to purchase stuff at the Gear website store to support our stuff, and you don't need or want the trinkets, the stuff, the loot. You can definitely reroute that to somebody like Gizzard, somebody like Rick, somebody else who's doing daily or weekly content. So they have it for giveaways or whatever. I'm going to add that as a 0 cost option, I think, and let people add that to their cart. I just only can do so many things in a day, and I didn't get that done today. But I will be adding that. So yeah, if Guy has something that he wants to send Gary's way, let me know. I'll give them to whoever make the shipping most effective. Yeah, I hear you. Appreciate it. It's not too bad. Even if everybody who won got an individual shipment yesterday, you can shove a lot into $4 worth of bubble wrap envelope. It can be up to like 9 ounces. So unless there's decks of cards in there, you can basically cram that envelope and it'll be under $5. But it's just an envelope, so it'll get smashed or whatever. So I don't try to super fill them or put anything fragile in them. But as far as patches and stuff, like it all started $3, $3.50, $3.80 now, I guess. But they don't go much higher than $4 something.
Oh, the free range chicken is here.
I don't know if his mic's not working or what, but he's in here. Yeah. He's muted. You're just muted.
Yeah, I was expecting a response from that, but okay.
Hold on. I'm here.
I was gonna say he's muted, so he's probably just doing.
I'm alive.
It's alive.
Oh, I'm no wonder. I'm over here looking at this screen and not clicking on this screen. So
there you go.
All right, so there we go. What we got here. Every new truck our company has gotten in the last 3 years has come with Bluetooth. My newest vehicle is the van, 2002, and it doesn't have anything fancy on the radio yet. But I've driven in cars where the people sit in the car and the car or whatever vehicle plays their songs off of their phone. Yeah, that's pretty neat. So yeah, Chris is saying he bought a bag of buttons. So one of the items on the store is all of our buttons that we've had or that I have in stock. So it's 2 different Chair Against the Walls and 2 different Daily Gun shows, I think. Maybe another one. So whatever buttons I had in stock, I put them into little bags. And Chris grabbed one the other day and wanted me to send it to Gary. So I've already got that going Gary's way so he could use it for a giveaway or something.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, well, so yeah, Gary jumped in. I'd like to say I gave a bunch of links out there, but then we started talking super nerdy and specific about nerd stuff. But I don't know if people just didn't jump in or if it's Friday. I don't know what's stress levels like out in your all's neck of the woods. I'm not going to ask a number this time. I'm just going to say, is it increasing stress, maintaining a level, or is it decreasing in any way?
It's increasing a little bit here. We finally got our first case this morning, so everybody's a little nervous now. Plus, we basically are on stay-at-home orders effective, about 40 minutes ago. So,
yeah, like officially being told. And I think,
yep.
So what about Night's Train?
Well, we haven't been told to don't leave the house. We've just been told, don't go to work and don't congregate. But again, if you have to go to the store, go to the store.
Well, we can still do that, but only essential traffic.
Yeah, we're not down to that yet, but we're down to the point where you can only get takeout food, no doubt. And some stores have voluntarily closed down just because they don't want to contribute to the virus and all that. So it's pretty hard for me to get ammo right now because PSA is closed.
That's interesting. So that's a little different. Other places are limiting hours or doing like curbside delivery where they're open, but they want you to like call or something and they'll bring the stuff out. I've seen things where they'll, like what they call like ration how many people are in the store at a time. Where I bet this one shop in Houston, you drive up and call them, and they'll put you on the list, sort of like when you go to a restaurant, but they ask you to stay in your car in the parking lot until somebody leaves, and then they page you or text you or whatever, and then that lets you know to come in, do your thing, and then the next person would wait like that, so that you're waiting in line in your car. And so I guess that kind of stuff. My concern is that they're still just talking number of infected, and that's not an indication of even the spread of the disease. It's just an indication of the ability to detect. And it's just such a non-important number compared to anything else. It's just an indicator. It's barely an indicator. It's like not even like a gauge on the car. It's just like looking out the window and seeing trees go by is an indicator that you're driving. It's not an indicator that you're going too fast or that you're not going the speed limit or that it's reckless. It's just an indication that you're moving. So we know that a disease spreads. And by micro focusing on the number of infected, that's like the least interesting number for, for use. Like, and that's my concern is that obviously we're dealing with something that's unprecedented, but the focus seems to be consistently on that number of infected, which is the most alarmist number possible. And, they exclude reporting on how many people are, what do they call it? Like infected, but recovered or something. And then the actual deaths and that kind of stuff. Because as you start to test people and as the thing spreads, it's anticipated that everyone's going to get it. So watching the number of people get it is not the same as watching the number of people actually are getting super sick from it. So anyway, that's going to be different in each state and everything. And that's why I'm asking, like, if there's still a rising or if it's maintained. It's changing here in Arizona, but it's probably for the same kind of reasons that you're saying. They're doing I don't know what they called it in Arizona, but they don't only want whatever travel, necessary travel. So it's just taking it to another level of, everybody leave each other alone for a little while, stay apart from each other as much as possible. But I don't know, does your Kansas one have a time frame? Like an expiration date on it?
Nope, they just said until further notice.
And that's the other part that's frustrating because, if they give you like a week and we'll see, that's basically the same thing, but it gives people a week to look forward to. When they say just until further notice, you got to look at this country is going to be 2 months and that state's going to be 3 months. It seems like a little crazy, or at least a little. I don't know. Again, I think they could have said a week or more, a week and then we'll see. But I guess they're afraid that people are going to bank on a week then if they say that. I really don't know. Imagine what they're thinking.
CloverTap keeps uploading videos. Clover, stop uploading videos.
What are you talking about? Oh, on your platform over there?
Well, no. He's uploading them to YouTube, and I'm getting like every notification of him uploading a video tonight.
That one live stream he did the other day where he did all those channel audits, he's broke each one of those into individual videos.
Yeah.
Let's see. Increasing in Ohio. More stuff closing. I assume you guys heard that beaches are closed in California.
Yeah, beaches are closed in South Carolina too.
I think that was that was already last week, I think.
Yeah, that's like the first thing they did.
Where are the homeless? Tell me about it. Like, where are the homeless supposed to do anything? You don't get to prep when you are carrying all your stuff. At least it's a lot tougher to prep when you're just carrying all your stuff. So there's got to be some situations out there that are.
They're just going to have to go out into the desert and sandbox it.
I'm not kidding. I'm saying there's going to be some situations out there where it's got to be super stressful for people that, for whatever situations in their lives, are dependent on others, and those others, no matter how much goodwill they have, they're going to be concerned for their safety and their families. So even if, young person, somebody decides, whatever age, that they're going to go help others, they may be causing strife in their own family because they might not be welcome home going to help others, and in a time like this. So that's got to put a strain on those who are dependent on others. Obviously, healthcare and stuff, those people who don't have, shelter and food and, positive outlook at the future, probably not in the best of health. So they're dependent on some of our systems. So it's got to be really difficult in some of the highly congested areas. And yeah, anyway, so most positive aspect I can see is it's just a big nationwide drill. I don't think that. I mean, I certainly don't think it's a hoax, and I don't think it's it's an overreaction, but I don't think it's an overreaction to nothing. I think it's an overreaction to a serious thing. But you're right, it is in some respects, I think a lot of people are going to be able to look back at this as a very effective wake up call. Maybe that's another way of saying it. But I don't see it being dire yet. I mean, the rest of the world is on the mend, and hopefully with lots of different things that people, for example, the ventilators. I heard this morning that someone came up with a way to turn a ventilator to work for 4 people. So if tech like that, if ingenuity like that pops up, that's not in everyone's calculations. And pessimistic people that are looking for reasons to justify their position aren't going to incorporate innovation and things like that. So then, who is it? What do they call people that put you under? Anesthesiologists figured out that they can modify anesthesiologist machines. So when necessary, that could bring, depending on the region, tens to many tens of thousands of units online with alterations for, the stress. It's not like people need ventilators for the rest of their lives. It's not like people go into kidney failure and they need dialysis daily, and it's a complete burden on society that's not fathomable. It's a stress on the emergency rooms for a particular piece of equipment that people intentionally decided not to stockpile. They decided it wasn't a priority in states like New York, the state that has already had an international terrorist attack. They decided not to stock gear that would allow emergency people to be infection free. So irresponsibility and not paying attention to the future, or whatever you want to say, that is certainly a factor, but people aren't factoring in their doom and gloom scenarios, innovation and the, what do you call it, like ingenuity, same word, to of us, the people that created half the things that are keeping people alive. So I'm not dooming us to horrible, but I'm not suggesting any of these are, tomorrow we're going to come out of it. Anyway, so truckers saying my shipping hub smells like a bleach bottle. Pretty much work as usual, slightly less traffic and more hand sanitizer. People are talking about converting systems to create hand sanitizer in different ways too. So looks like, again, we're probably not looking at long-term shortages of stuff. It just takes time to retool and evaluate if it's worth doing and that kind of stuff. Increasing in Kentucky. We now have 300 positive cases, 65 deaths in the next week or so. We're expecting the governor to issue a shelter in place. So that's interesting. And how will the shelter in place affect deaths? If people are scared to go in with minor symptoms and then they get to severe symptoms, so by the time they do get to a hospital, it's quick or nothing. I don't know, but I'm not. The CDC should have been gaming that. Instead, they were gaming gun crime or firearms crime. Or what was the other thing that I heard that was a national epidemic that wasn't guns, but it was like something else that was not a disease. I hauled refrigerated my first day off in 2.5 weeks. Right on. Thanks for... Again, I keep saying that we keep congratulating the people that are being the facilitators of everything at this point. And most of those people didn't sign up for that. They're just doing a job or whatever. All of a sudden, literally the calm of the country rests on everybody's back. So I appreciate you and everybody doing their stuff and all the different levels. There's all kinds of people that are keeping the things working. Who would have ever thought that there was going to be a time when most everybody who's got a job that don't matter can just sit down for like a month, 2 weeks, or whatever it's going to end up being, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You're not that vital. Why don't you just take a break? Let all the people that are vital just keep working in a dangerous situation. But yeah, in that way, I believe it's back to what he said. It's a drill, right? It's back in the day, we would do drills so that we would at least be familiar with the kind of stuff that had to happen. When's the last time anybody did a drill? Fire drill, emergency drill, earthquake drill. When's the last time somebody did a drill for anything? So you're right.
Hey, just skip my messages, all right?
I don't know. Did I?
You should.
Oh. Number of cases will go up as testing becomes more available, deaths and people in ICU. Exactly. And the number of people recovering. And that's the other thing is I don't think I remember, I was sleeping and I heard something on the radio, but I think it was just the concept that once there's a test, I don't think somebody was saying there is a test, or maybe I'm wrong, but I think he was just saying once there's an ability for someone to like poke their finger into something and it can say, you've already been infected. You're not a carrier anymore. Like you can go back to business as usual. That'd make it a lot easier, right? Once that ability is there for people to be not concerned, like, oh, I'm not going to hurt my old people or babies. I can go back to work. Because it spreads, but it doesn't kill as it spreads. It spreads and infects and people get sick. Some people die, but then it's done. And then we have to wait till next year when it changes or whatever. I don't understand why they don't give homeless a couple of bucks to clean restrooms. It's interesting. Sometimes homeless people aren't homeless because they're just deciding to be beach bums because they got nothing else better to do, but because they got either a mental or physical condition or they're just broke, right? And they just don't have it in them. Maybe, something happened horrible that we can't even fathom. And they're just a shell and they're just not in the same mode as being in the same world as everybody else. And then maybe it takes them 6 months or 6 years to come out of that. And then they figure out from their experience a way to change homelessness in this country. So I'm not going to attempt to understand everybody's situation out there. Stay-at-home order, restaurants. In Ohio, they call it a stay-at-home order. Restaurants, bars, closed, takeout only, no new tattoos. Yeah, and certainly, I don't know if people are really paying attention. And right now, everybody's worried about themselves and their immediate, group. We're not looking at big picture, but it'll be interesting to see at the end of all of this, in the after, what kind of changes take place, and when people are deemed essential. You know what I mean? That's like a whole nother level of status in this society that we never really thought about before. We never had this particular situation. We've had wars and stuff where was either Riveter or the, civic organization, person that collects rubber or something, those people are considered heroes. But how often, I can't think of a time when, maybe during the wars, we've appreciated infrastructure, but very rarely do we appreciate infrastructure when we're not being like preached to or something about it. So this is an opportunity for the infrastructure to take pride and have accomplished something that could not have happened. We talk about the country leading the world in things like this is the infrastructure leading or allowing the world or our country to do its thing. And hopefully it's an opportunity too at the end of all this for these fuckers that consistently insist that the rich are so fucking horrible and that everybody else is doomed. Like, I think they're showing who the heroes are here, and I don't think the rich are doing anything about it. They're not getting richer, and they're not bitching. They're just happy that the infrastructure exists just like everybody else. We'll see. Anybody want to throw anything in there? Just ranting at each of these comments as we go down. Night Strike comes from Kentucky. He was born in Kentucky and he spent some time there, but he doesn't live there now.
No, I graduated high school in Kentucky.
He was afraid. He had heard that if enough people lived in eastern Kentucky, it would flip over, and he didn't want it to do that, so he moved to South Carolina.
Hold up. That's that senator, that representative in Georgia. Okay,
You know how when you
Not
play that
Kentucky.
game, you know that tic-tac-toe game where there's like a little step stool and it's got little squares on it, and you throw bean bags at it, and the little piece squares on there spin around on a little bar, and it'll spin around to be an X or an O. You got to throw little bean bags. You know what I'm talking about? You ever played that game? It's like a baby game. So that's what Night Strike's Afraid. Tennessee will spin around like that on a little peg. If too many people stand up.
Well, you can continue playing your checkers, G. I'm going to go play my 4D chess.
I was kind of hoping to get 2 weeks off. I have so much I need to get done at home, but Department of Defense says I'm essential. Yep. And that's well, I guess it's not an opportunity. As I say, it's an opportunity for people to pitch in, but not if we're not allowed to talk to each other. So some of you people just have to grind yourselves into the ground while the rest of us take a week off, 2 weeks, I guess, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. We haven't decided yet. We're going to take maybe a month off. But no, we appreciate y'all doing your thing. Doesn't matter if you can get your work done or not. You could work overtime. We'll pay you more. But hopefully we won't come out of it like that. Hopefully, like I say, we'll come out of it with just a greater appreciation where it's not a preachy, I told you so appreciation, but just an honest appreciation and understanding of what the infrastructure is and appreciation for your restaurants. Huh?
Next message.
Oh, sorry. I'm just randomly clicking. But I think it's an opportunity for restaurants, right, that don't maybe get, let's say you're bored of eating beans or whatever the hell you did or didn't prep, right? So you're checking out some of these restaurants while they're still open, depending on if they're going to close or, until they open again regularly. You're checking out these different restaurants as pickup. Maybe appreciate some new kind of food or, some local restaurant. You start going to one that usually you bypass for some reason, and now you start liking them more. So at the end of all this, maybe there's a new appreciation for local diversity and flavor, and people are going to be at home eating these things to go on social media. So there's going to be a lot more promotion of stuff that just out of boredom and looking for new things to do, people are going to be promoting these local restaurants in a whole different way. The restaurants who might not have ever been promoted before are going to get new ideas and grow from that. The people that have never participated in the promotion or creation of content are going to have all different appreciation for it. And all these people that are experiencing it, because most of the time we're talking about content creators are like 1 out of 10, right? 1 out of 100, depending on how big of a project we're talking about. All those people that experience that stuff, that view that stuff, are going to be aware of more stuff. So I think there's some real potential for coming out of it with a whole nother appreciation for each other. I'm going to just dig a hole in the concrete jungle. All right. Well, don't put that stuff out there. I guess you can delete it. It don't delete on the El Pato, though. It'll just show up here, even if you delete it out there. We had 1 death in my county. The news glossed over that he was in a hospital recovering from a kidney transplant with pneumonia, and he happened to test positive. Interesting. And that's what we're seeing here in Arizona as well. Like, blah, 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 77-year-old, blah, 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 this and that. So does anybody know what COVID stands for? Muted? Everybody left? So COVID is what we're supposed to call the disease because it's not politically correct to call it the China disease.
I thought we were still calling it the Wuhan flu.
No, so you're supposed to call it COVID-19. Do you know what COVID stands for?
Coronavirus disease.
No, but it's something. It's something like. Where's the thing going to tell us what it sounds like? Where it comes from? I heard it on the radio. Now I'm wondering. The CO stands for corona. VI stands for virus. Is that what you just said? And then D for disease?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Because I had heard that it was Chinese origin virus. And then something disease. So basically, yeah, now I'm getting 2 different things.
COVID-19 stands for coronavirus disease 2019. That's what it stands for.
Okay, so it's not the 19th. It is from 2019, and it is not China. It stands for corona.
Coronavirus
okay, so this morning was that COVID stood for Chinese origin, disease, infectious, whatever, and that anyway. So I guess it's not. So then,
According to
No,
the
but it-
CDC, anyway.
Well, according to everybody, it did originate from China, but that's all we can tell.
well, and the thing is that what I think, at this point, everyone's doing a master class at destroying any ability to figure out what's valid or not anymore. At least making it very difficult for everybody to figure out what's valid. But I heard something that it's calling something like SARS or MRSA, MRSA, I guess, was the other one. All those ones that we've had are definitely not saying things like monkey flu or bird flu. Like those are the common names. Those are like the street slang for these things. But the idea of saying COVID-19 is just more accurate, so that when we're talking about something, we're not talking about like all colds or all flus or even like all communicable diseases. We're talking about this specific one. So when you say something like bird flu, then you might be talking about 3 different ones. Or if you say something like swine flu, you might be talking about 3 different instances over different years. So I thought, and I'd heard that it's supposed to be a way to just be more specific. But then I'd also heard that the C stood for Chinese, and I'd heard that the 19 stood for the 19th variation. So it looks like the official is CO stands for Corona, based off what it looks like, right? And then 19 stands for the year 2019, when it originated, not where it originated. And I guess the Spanish flu, the problem there is that it originated somewhere else. It's just that they found it in Spain, so they call it Spanish flu. But that's why that's why I was told, that's why I heard that they don't want to use common phrases anymore, because it just screws with it. Everybody gets confused and people get offended for no reason, or maybe for a reason, but people are offended or offending for no reason when really the flu isn't even from there. It just happened to be identified there years ago, I guess. Well, that's true that everyone has employees for that kind of stuff. On the other hand, though, if the stores are getting low on employees, I bet you some of the gas station attendants and counter people at restaurants and stuff, well, not restaurants, but at gas stations, things like that, might not be as hot to go in and work for how much they work for, $11 an hour or something. There's definitely a Department of Transportation. They take care of all the highways and the laws about cars and mess with the car manufacturers and stuff like that, probably. Making your own hand sanitizer. Interesting. Off without a return date as of now. So you're being told 4 to 8 weeks. At least that's a range, and like a range that's like realistic to the word like potential or something, like, so that you have some, so it's not like a week or 2, it's not like a dumb range.
Well, I presume my employer wouldn't have went to all the trouble they've just did in the expense, only for something that's going to take a week or 2.
I imagine some places probably needed to wait until they could figure out about the communist bailout or whatever, so that they could even do it, right? Saying it's one thing, actually being able to finance it's another thing, and then having government money finance it is a third thing, I guess. Weeks ago, UAW was asking for a 2-week shutdown. All the big 3 said no. What's going on? 2 here, need to hit the rack. Hope everyone's having a good night. Yep, thanks. And thanks for the support. Let's see if I'm hoping they lift federal restrictions on carry in commercial trucks. That's interesting. Well, as soon as the first bad thing happens, I don't have to get into specifics. As soon as something bad happens, then they react. We definitely seem to have a president who is willing to do stuff in reaction to stuff. So I suspect the first time, or even there's a suspicion of that, I could see him doing that for sure. I don't think he's anti that. And we're talking letting truck drivers carry, right? Like right now they can't. Well, at least it's really difficult and it's basically impossible. Been tipping the hell out of pizza delivery people. There's no federal law on carrying commercial, just state by state, which can be a mess. Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. Plus companies, right? there might be a company rule or something that conflicts with your personal rules. Yep, everybody knew what that was. I don't watch TV, so I learn everything off of chats, and occasionally I'll go look for something on Google or something. But I don't look for this info. It comes to me, and it's not coming to me from. Well, I don't think there is. Is there? There's no valid source, right? There's CDC and there's WHO, and then there's a million interpretations of that data.
All right, G, I'm gonna hop out. I'm gonna get some.
Yeah, I'm yawning over here. I'm just got a courtesy going through and clicking on the last of these, but thanks for jumping in. Let me shut it down here in a second. We're almost at 2 hours for 2A here. So earlier, Chris is gone, but I think Chris was asking if I sounded funny. It's because I just woke up. I was feeling like shit, not sick, just not feeling good. People are depressed, and figured, fuck it, I'm going to sleep, work through the night, and that's what I'm going to do. So I slept for a couple hours in the afternoon today, catch up on some Z's from earlier in the week, and that'll probably keep me up and going after this for a while, which is fine because I got a bunch of tasks to work on. So yeah, I probably sounded like I just woke up earlier because I just woke up early. I think I woke up, saw there was like 15 minutes to hit the show, and took the puppy out and started the show. There's no such thing as a bacon flu. That would cure you. I gotcha. Is COVID just a mutation of SARS? I think that they're somehow, some of them are related. I don't know if those two are related, but yeah, whenever I was trying to find, there was a meme or something that was going around from some doctor who had said, isn't it interesting that these things all relate to election years? Which I still think is valid because Matt said it was a bogus, like been Snoped or whatever. So I went and looked it up myself. And yeah, if you go to the CDC, I think, or maybe it's the WHO, but one of those two actual websites and look at it, all of these things have ranges. None of them are like 1 year because of the way they are. You know, they might span a year or 2 or 3 or 4. So none of them are just 1 year, but the spans, the median of the span, or if it's a short range, like the range that it's included in, these things do kind of add up. But it's not because they add up with election years. It's just because there's a lot of them. They happen wave after wave after wave. So as I was looking through all that, there is like the SARS epidemic of this year, and then there's the SARS epidemic of a few years later. There's the instance of the other one, and then there's the time when it hit the world. So these things, like some of them are from like the 70s. Some of them were invented or figured out in the 70s, but then nothing happened. And then in the 1980s or 90s or something, I guess, 2000s, all of a sudden it left that country and was all over the world. And so that in those respects, yeah, you could say that these things aren't specific to election years, but we certainly have to deal with them often during election years. But yeah, I don't think anybody's suggesting that they're election tools or campaign tools or anything. Spanish flu actually started in Kansas. That's what I heard. That's what he's saying.
I heard that.
So corn disease, soybean disease. How many people say soybean versus soybean? Is there a percentage ratio?
I've never heard anything but soybean.
Oh, you never heard anybody say soybean like that?
Mm-mm.
I've been to parts of the country where I'm like, are we talking about soybeans? Because they all say soybean, like with an A at the end. And to the point where I was like, am I saying it wrong? But maybe it's just a regional thing.
It may
But
be.
it's all the same. It's all the same product. But yeah, some
Yeah.
people, I've heard it say that way. Yeah, both coronal viruses or whatever. Okay. And I don't really care about diseases, so I'm not going to spend too much of my life spending time about it, but I am going to learn enough to understand, keep up in conversation, I guess, at some point. Because that's a good question. Has anybody seen anything that's like a good, what do they call it, like a primer or a good little intro to this stuff that's done without any kind of, and Trump sucks, or like, and Trump is so great? Because I don't trust stuff that gives you that little caveat at the end. When I saw the report on the flu instead of the VA rally, I was like, oh, the fear monger. No, I hear you 100,000%. I hear you 100,000%. We'd had such potential with the rallies this year. DTP has taken off. Soybean might be Spanglish. No, these were definitely rednecks. Pretty sure you'd call a farmer a redneck, or is rednecks just coal miners? If you call farmers rednecks and they're not something else, then definitely farmer. I don't know what kind of farmers. Like, I don't know white people enough. They could have been Dutch or German, or I don't know what the hell. There's some kind of white people farmers, though. Whole region. I'm trying to remember now if it was Southern Illinois. It mustn't. Maybe it was Iowa. I don't remember. But I remember I've had people say it like that. Maybe I'm crazy. Steer and a bean. I don't know what all that is. C2RS una bean. I don't know what that is. But with that, we're almost at 2 hours. We're at 1:55, 55. So we're calling that 2 hours for 2A. Thanks, Gary, for jumping in. Thanks, Night Strike, for jumping in. We nerded out a little bit. If you know somebody who's creating an organization and says, oh, you know what I'm going to do? Online training. Make sure that they pay a little more attention than just the first person they talk to building an online platform for membership systems. A lot of them out there, and a lot of them are scams. So we spent way too much time talking about that today. Then we talked about all kinds of other nuts and bolts. And then we talked about rumors and speculations. And hopefully everybody's happy because everybody who purchased something from the Gear website store today grabbed a Corona patch. So thanks for the support there. It was not enough to pay bills and stuff. So next Friday, I will be back at it and working on some projects and things so that I'm not just asking for handouts, but we did do quite a bit of chats this week. 4 hours on dealing with people with stress alone. Of course, the Daily Gun Show, we did a couple of live chats during the week. So hopefully we're offering something for people to look at, listen to, or be part of as a diversion and distraction from some of the stress that's out there. Not saying we got answers, but we're going to do what we can to help out. And I appreciate the people that make it possible for us to do that. Gary, we got a package of stuff going out to you. Thanks to Chris and others.
Thank you.
You want to plug anything? You got a show coming up on Sunday this week?
Got a show coming up on Sunday. That'd be the Early Bird Chat, and that'll be at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central.
Right on. Thanks for hosting those, keeping people in touch. I certainly find value in tuning in, even if I can't join, just to see what's going on. You know, the radio could tell me one thing, the TV can tell me something else, but nobody's going to lie to me online. Like, I know what's happening, being part of the community. We can tell who's around, and we can also get a kind of an idea of who's not out there, so we might know who to say hey to. So with that in mind, we'll wrap it up with, if you can think of somebody who you haven't seen online in a while, perfect opportunity to reach out. We got a big community, and it ain't just to talk about what guns we're buying next, right? Let's be real humans. Find out those people that are out there that you haven't heard from. Poke them, make sure they're doing okay. In real life, I'm not going to preach to you about how to live your lives out there. I'm sure the people who listen to that are doing their thing. Thank you for